Yeah, great evening to everyone. Great evening. It's a good evening, great evening to them. Yep, it's November 12th right now, another Friday, another evening over 0 hour discussions. And it's going to be a pretty interesting, and probably a fun filled episode right now, or at least anticipating it to be. Again, my name is JM Chris from 0 hour discussions. And I do have another guest, another content creator guest, also a podcaster myself. And let me just introduce her. Her name is Iza from Equip in real life, in game, and also in real life. How are you doing this evening, Iza?
Hey, hi JM. Thank you so much for inviting me over. I'm doing actually really well. I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm more excited to talk to you today. I think the topics that we have in store for our listeners are going to be really fun to talk about. And yeah, I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty fine. Uh, all things considered, it's been a very heavy week at work, and also still feeling the after effects of the medication or the jab, as they say. But yeah, everything's good. Really excited that this happened. So what really happened here is, since he's consider herself a bit of a newbie, which I don't believe. If you guys actually listen to her content, it's really good, and she does a lot of insight comparing games and also in real life, how it affects your thinking and how to generally approach life in a game-esque manner. So that actually picked up my interest because I was also a gamer. Admittedly, right now I'm no longer a hardcore gamer. I only have a PS2 and also a PSP. No newer tech by my decision because I have to pay a lot of bills throughout the years. I could have purchased a PS3 before, but I decided not to, and I have no regrets about it. Though I still play some games from time to time, especially the old ones. Big fan of them. But yeah, and also like what else can I say about this week? I watched also a bunch of Christmas lightings in Cubao virtually, which I should have been there because I never miss any Christmas lightings in Cubao. But yeah, and let's go ahead and sell some more introductions first. I like the people to know more about you, Isa, what you do in Equipped in game in real life. I could actually give that, but it's better than guests actually do their introductions because they know their materials and also what they do far better than the host.
Okay.
So could you give me at least a bit condensed information what you usually do in Equipped in game in real life?
Okay. Well, in terms of what I usually do, I've only started podcasting 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. So I'm really, really new. Um in terms of what the podcast is about, like JM said already, I like to take gaming concepts. These are basically concepts that I have noticed in the games that I've played, and I just share how they can be turned into life lessons or into things that we can also apply into daily living. So I grew up. Uh, I don't know if any of my family members will see this, but I grew up seeing my big brother play, and luckily enough, he wouldn't get annoyed at me whenever I would, stand right next to him and watch him play. And so I was exposed to all the games that he was playing. And I don't know. There was just something about it that was really interesting. Well, obviously, as a 7-year-old, that's not what you notice right away. What I noticed right away were like the outfits, the aesthetics, the graphics, and I found it really stimulating. I found enjoyment in that. But it was only until I became a young adult, so maybe in 2018, that I paid more attention to the games that I was playing and what they actually meant, or what are the different things that I noticed about myself when I was playing those games. And so it took like a course of 3 years of just me playing all these games and also just working on my own personal development, that I reached a point wherein I learned about the term gamification. And usually, when they say
Hmm.
gamification, they use this when you have a project or you have a task that you have to do, you're managing a team, and you want to be able to make it more fun and you want to be able to make it more engaging in some way. So that's what they do. They try to gamify things. They take a gaming element, XP bars, rewards after, and that's what they do to make it more fun. And when I learned that concept, that's really when everything clicked in my brain. I was like, gamification, making things more fun by adding gaming elements. And I figured you don't need to have a specific project. You don't need to have a working team. You don't need to have like a task at hand to actually use it. You can do it in your daily life. And I was like, oh, that seems fun to do. And I thought it was like the best of both worlds for me, like combining the two things that I love the most at this moment, which is gaming and personal development. And I just decided to go for it. I made this podcast and we're 3 episodes in, and it's been a really fun journey so far. So I guess that's the backstory.
When you mentioned gamification, I chuckled a little bit because if you notice, at least the what is the most trending show right now, either in
Squid
TV or
Game.
in Netflix, yeah.
Hmm.
And I think that would be for our next discussion. But yeah, I watched Squid Game, and not only that, even Alice in Borderland. Uh, though both those shows show how gaming could actually affect quote unquote real life if it was made into some sort of a competition, like life or death competition. And it's not particularly great. It's not really that great. Another thing about that, if people already watch the original Battle Royale Japanese version, that's also
Uh-huh.
another gamification, and also in line one of the movies I'll be discussing sometime in the near future. But yeah, let's go back to our discussion. And I'm also before I dive myself, what are the games that you played throughout the years? I ask.
Oh gosh. Okay. In terms of what I started with,
Hmm.
again, I watched my brother, my big brother, playing whatever game it was, and he was playing RuneScape, Maple Story, Drift City. Those really are the three that I remember the most. But then when I became a young adult, I remember Minecraft. I remember Assassin's Creed, Witcher. Right now, I've been playing. Well, actually, honestly, I haven't been playing because my schedule has been really
Schedule work.
busy.
Yep.
Yep, yep.
Mm.
But the games that I've recently played in the past couple of months would be Dying Light, New
Mm.
World. I still. Oh, we tried this game before. It's called. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Fantasy Star, online
Fantasy Star
to
PH with the PH,
New
right?
Genesis.
Fantasy Star. No, I mean, is it
No, 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 no.
PHAN or is it Fantasy
PH,
Star?
PH.
Yeah, PH. I've heard of Fantasy Star before. I think it's also a pretty old game, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
It's around
Yeah,
2000,
yeah.
mid 2000. It's a good game. I haven't really played it that much, but me being that person that researches about games before, yeah, I've encountered Fantasy Star before, and based on the
Nice.
reviews and also what I've seen, I haven't really played it, but yeah, it does look good. It's
Yeah,
surprising
it's a
that you
good.
also played Assassin's Creed. What installment of Assassin's
Um,
Creed have you played so far?
I've only played one. I've
Mm.
only played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I haven't even finished it yet. I still
Oh
remember
yeah,
where I stopped, but I don't know. I really enjoyed it as well.
it's a good franchise. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I'm a
it
big
is.
fan. I'm a big fan, and you'll discover that later in the world building. My choice of hero.
Ooh,
Then
okay.
there's some influence of, I'm not sure if you know him, Altair Ibn Lahad, which is the um first protagonist on the first Assassin's Creed game. So he's called Il Mentore for a lot of
Mhm.
reasons. He's the first assassin, or not really the first assassin, but the first assassin who actually realized the truth between light and dark, and also the apple of Eden. So I'm not sure, he's not really the best character. If you compare it to other assassins or the lead assassins, he's probably in the top five. But he's, for me, there's something about the person who started the franchise, and there's some sort of nostalgia, or I'm not sure what it is. Probably the quality of the character that you could relate to and immediately just place him in the top five of your list. Not sure why, but yeah. Sorry, go on. You were mentioning something else a while ago.
Oh no, that was pretty much it. Those were the games that I remember playing recently. I'm pretty sure I forgot a lot more. I remember Valheim. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Valheim.
It's to me Valheim is like a more immersive Minecraft. I'm a big Minecraft fan, but when I started playing Valheim, it was really something else. It still reminded me of Minecraft, but I liked how
Is it a
you just
sandbox game?
feel more involved. Hmm?
Is it a sandbox game? No.
It to some extent, I think it is, but not as much as Minecraft. Does that make sense? Like
Oh yeah, yeah.
there's there's a lot more story and quests that are involved in Valheim, and I think that's what made it more engaging for me at least. And yeah, I still recommend it though.
Because I'm looking at it right now. Uh, is this the same thing that I'm looking at? It's from Iron Gate Studio, Swedish
Yeah, yeah,
developer.
yeah.
It launched on
Uh-huh.
February 2nd of this year. That's it,
Yeah.
right?
It's a pretty recent game.
Kind of looks like a lower, well, not really lower res, but kind of looks like a bit of God of War, a bit. But might check it out. I might check it out later. Because I'm on on the trail of looking at some games nowadays. Because I'm okay. So here's my end naman, since I'm going to give a brief background of what I used to play. I think there are some returning people, or at least returning viewers here, who know that I'm a big fan of Metal Gear Solid. And oh yeah, I already have an online friend here in Brightest Day. Thanks for being here, man. It's around 7 a.m. out there,
Oh
I think.
wow, good
So
morning.
yeah, on the other side of the world. Thank you so much for being here. And we're just discussing some hero stuff. Actually, the title of this stream is why the hero story, and why it's still relevant nowadays. And oh yeah, it's Jay Bertolo from Losing Streak Gaming. Sorry Jay, medyo na may mental block ako kasi iniisip ko yung mga laro na nilalaro ko before. But yeah, thanks for being here. And I think you have a friend in Flux.
Oh my
Hello.
god. Hey.
Okay. So guys, we are going to discuss a bit. Medyo mahaba-haba siya. And I may not be able to read your comments immediately because it's going to be a very immersive discussion. Feel free to comment your place your comments in the comment section, and we'll probably go through them when we do have the time. But I am also inclined to also respect my guests availability, so we have to go through this as quickly as we can, or at least as much as we can. Going back to my gaming history, MGS fan obviously, and I'm a big and also atrocious survival horror fan. So just a background on that one, why I call myself an atrocious horror fan, kasi nung bata ako, around 6 years old, umiyak ako before then best friend played Resident Evil. So, back then, nasa nasa madilim na kwarto kami, bigla nilang inon yung Resident Evil back then. I'm not sure if you've already watched at least some gameplays of the original RE. It's really terrifying before because they used real people in the FMV sequences.
Oh wow,
So
really?
yeah, they've used real people in the FMV. So nakakatakot siya. At least to some part. But the sound of Resident Evil kasi, the ambience, Jay would actually attest to this one. It's very scary. The mood is very scary, implying death is all around you, and the only way for you to survive is to fight your way through the night and through the mansion. So it's a very small world. If you're going to base it on the original one, it's also highly recommended for people to play Resident Evil at this point, the old one, and or the RE1 remake. And I'm a big Silent Hill fan. If you want something that really builds up the tension and also at least give you some sort of a morality play on what's going on in real life, um, Silent Hill gives you the opportunity to look into, not suggesting, but look into how writing is when you want to see someone else's inner hell or inner suffering. The basic premise of Silent Hill is you go to the town, or the town calls you to go in it, and then it'll immediately affect your psyche. It will change your perception of reality or even warp reality itself. So
Oh
there's
wow.
a lot of, yeah, it will warp the reality itself, but it will target also your past sins if you do have any. Let's say if you're a murderer, you'll be subjected to whatever horrors you've done before until you accept the truth that, okay, ginawa ko to. I have to accept.
Mm.
So it's also a very good teacher of acceptance, and also the seven stages, I think, of grief, or six stages of grief. There's such a thing that it's really implied in those games, and also how to defeat your inner demons, how to defeat your even yourself. The marami siyang laro is very good, especially 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, and as far as RTS is concerned, I'm a big fan of who wouldn't be StarCraft, Command and Conquer, Red Alert. Yeah, those are some of the few that I played throughout the years. And I'm not a really a big Final Fantasy fan, but I do have a band that plays Final Fantasy music, as evident a while ago. I like Final Fantasy music, and also Kingdom Hearts. I would choose
Mm.
Kingdom Hearts over Final Fantasy. Dying Light is also a good game. The only problem that I have with Dying Light is I don't have the technology right now to actually play it. But yeah, it's good, very good. So I think that rounds up all of our gaming history, at least most condensed, basically. And just also continuing the question here, how did gaming actually help you in real life? Was there a scenario that you remember that you got to use your skills as a gamer, or at least the mind that you have, and apply it in real life? You may have answered this question a while ago, but just in case if you haven't.
Okay. Well, I mean, the podcast is all about, taking gaming
Mm,
concepts that I've noticed, right? And showing how they can be applied in real life. I've really only started doing that this year, because that's when I was really more comfortable about it. And hello, hey JV. Anyway, but I think one of the first things that gaming really helped me out with is it made me realize the negative traits that I have, in the sense that I've mentioned this a lot of times in my podcast. I'm not like a streamer, I'm not a professional gamer. I'm really just a casual gamer. I do it for fun, but I also tend to get really stressed out and frustrated easily, especially back then. And it was horrible in the sense that I would reach a point wherein I would get so stressed out that I would feel like I wouldn't want to play a game. And so
hmm
I was that type of person. I am not proud of it, but it's what happened. And I guess going through, I mean playing games in general, I started noticing things within myself first. I didn't notice the concepts right away. I just noticed how I reacted to things, how I reacted to stimuli, how I made decisions within a game that were like that had alternate endings. Um I slowly started to see more of myself through gamings, which is kind of ironic because some people say that when you play games, you sort of use it as like an escape, or you try to be something else, someone else. But for me, it was sort of like the opposite. I slowly became more in tune with myself, and emphasis on the slowly. This took 3 years to happen, but once that got started, I slowly realized like, okay, this is what I need to change about myself, how I handle my
Mm.
stress, how I get so annoyed easily. And like I said, like gaming and personal development went hand in hand for me. And as I continued trying to be a better person in real life, I just kept enjoying the games that I was playing at the time, but then also because my mindset kept changing, I became more aware and I started to notice the gaming concept. So it was sort of like a cycle. And that's still what's happening right now. I think it's really cool, but I would say it really started with the negative traits that I had. So, yeah, helped me out a
I
lot.
I think it is actually what do you call this? It's actually inevitable that you would at least compare gaming and personal development hand in hand, just because of the basics of basic specs of gaming, like uh, gathering HP, for example, gathering XP, and also fighting some bosses. If you compare that in real life, Tagalog mo, pagising mo sa umaga, so you're starting your day, you're starting your personal game there. And you try to come up with a plan on how you'll tackle your entire day. Probably a good half of the population does that, but you also have another half of the population, like whatever happens, happens. Some might, what do you call this? Some might get a bit more successful when they plan things out, but there are some people that don't even plan and get successful for some reason, which is
Mhm.
very, very odd. Let's say that they have some sort of luck. Again, another gaming concept. You have high luck sometimes, or just most of the time, things go your way. But I'd rather be prepared than to just wing it. Except for some other stuff that I do, like in music, I just wing it on stage. But yeah, it's really inevitable for the comparison of personal development and skills compared to its counterparts with the games in general. All right, so let's go ahead and get some more comments here. Comments.
Hi, Alo.
Okay,
Thank you for
so
watching.
definitely, guys, for being here, five, six, seven people a while ago. Thank you so much for being here again. I am with Isa from Equipped in game in real life. You could see it on the screen. Actually, tumama nga yung ano, yung
Oo nga,
pangalan
eh,
niya
sobrang sakto, like, if I
under her name, which is napapansin ko each time na gumagawa ako ng poster, minsan tumatama sa guest yung pangalan nila, which okay, that's good. But okay, so okay, let's go ahead and discuss the main topic first because the secondary topic is gonna eat a lot of our time. Being as gamers and also real people, ay, nakakatawa isipin. Real people, do you think, even I know you'd say yes, you may justify your answer in this one, but do you think the hero's journey is still relevant up to this day?
Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Of course it is. I mean, I
How do you
think
think so? How can you at least expound on why you think that it does still apply in current day events, or at least in current day life?
yeah, because, like, the hero's journey is, well, at least this is what I assume. It's mostly taught to people in the context of literature, right? That's what they teach us in English class whenever we're in high school or in elementary. I actually don't remember. And so it's introduced to us as a concept of writing stories and also understanding the famous literature that we have right now. But I mean, growing up, like, being exposed to all these games, you see that continuously. You see it over and over again. And you see that cycle of, a protagonist getting introduced, them accepting this somewhat major task that they might not necessarily know it's a major task, but it's basically what kickstarts their journey. and it pushes them outside of what they're used to. It pushes them outside of the world that they grew up in, and as they go out, they become exposed to the real world, quote unquote, real world. And it's in that real world that they experience all these trials, all these horrible things that could happen during a quest and whatnot. And then it's also where they meet the people that um, inevitably help them in some way, or they also meet people that betray them and make the journey longer. And the cycle continues. When they reach the climax, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, the ending point is they come out of it as a completely different person, as someone that has gained more experience. And that's usually where it ends. Well, at least in the context of literature, right? It's a story, it ends there.
Yeah.
But given that we are humans, I think for us, the hero's journey is more of a cycle. It happens every time, and once it ends, it starts a new it starts a new cycle. And it's not gonna end until, knock on wood, we end our time here.
Mm.
And I guess that's what they didn't point out, or at least in school and stuff. It's that
No, you're
it's
not
not
going to
just.
learn this one in school.
Oh yeah,
Honestly,
that's true.
you're
That's
not
true.
gonna learn this kind of talk in school, which
Well, I think
I
that's why
think
we're
they should.
talking about it now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and which I think this should be at least some part would be. I'm not gonna say essential, but at least in computer literature, or at least when discussions comes with, what do you call this? Let's say Christian living or anything, they should incorporate at least some gaming factions there, since it's already been in pop culture. Why not include?
Mhm.
And it's actually fairly easy to understand, right? So, and kids would actually much more embrace the tough events in life if they actually know, oh yeah, if I do this, I'd gain more knowledge about this certain thing that I've done for, or if there's a specific task they need to do that they're trying to avoid, why not tell them that, okay, even at a young age, tell them that whatever you do right now, you'll be gaining a lot of experience in this one. So the next time you encounter it, you'll be far more equipped facing it. It doesn't matter if you pass this test right now. We're not expecting you because you're still young, but at least you'll learn something from it or some sort like that, right? So yeah, I'm going to answer that also, but the comment section is being flooded by people that we know. Let me start with my good friend Evanders from Evanders Gaming. He just finished their stream in Tambayang Talong, and they reviewed Dune. It's also a good movie. Another game-related movie for people who don't know. Nakala na mahaba movie lang ang Dune. Dune is actually based on a novel and also a game. Dune 2021. It's a good movie. By my standards, probably review it sometime soon. And it's 2 hours and 30 minutes, I think, long. Check it out. Check Evanders out also on Facebook, and also Tambayan Talong in Facebook as well. Some more for you, Isa. On
Hi, hello Patita. Thank you po.
yeah,
Oh my gosh,
say
Jim.
out.
Hi.
Say shout out.
Hi.
Another shout out from you, Nico Mendoza. Shout out.
Oh my gosh, you guys are actually here. Hi, Miko. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. Again, it's a Friday evening. Since we still have this kind of setup, might as well just hang out for a bit. Oh yeah, before I continue, there's another one. Just went
Hi,
in.
hello Ivan. Hello. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here also. So in my end, I believe that it's still important that we actually go through the hero's journey and why it still matters nowadays, because this is going to be a bit of a rant, to be honest,
Oh,
because
why?
we are too much, and I'm going to clarify myself why. I think we're at a point in history that most people are too reliant with technology.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a bad factor, because when you play games itself, yeah, given it's technology based, but when you see the games and how they move forward in your character, what is the essential thing that you're doing there? You keep on moving, you keep on thinking, you keep on doing a routine, or at least stuck on a familiar routine for a few levels, and then go ahead and bash it out, look for another routine, and then gain more experience, battle more stuff, battle more bosses, gain a lot of say weapons. The main reason why I'm saying that we're being held back by technology is it could be a double-edged sword, because in real life, I'm not saying it through the game, so it's we're talking in real life, because this what we're saying right now is the hero's journey in real life. What happens if you just sit down in front of your PC? Let's say you just watch TV, listen to your iPad, or even just talk to the phone like nothing's happening, especially in the past 2 years. Talagang tatamagan ng taong lumabas talaga or think something productive to do. So medyo, I think lang medyo nasa setback tayo with technology, because nagiging reliant na tayo. We could use this phone and then automatically, oy, may gagawin na pala ngayon. So, set ko na lang and then tomorrow ganun ulit. Rather than if naabutan pa ng tao in the 80s and also 90s na if we want to do something, kailangan tayo talaga gagawa. We don't have the luxury of setting things up via our cell phone. We don't have those. So I would consider, you might think differently about this, but this is how I see it, kasi that was my generation before na abutan namin yung hardship na alam mo yun, walang ganito eh. Walang ganito dati talaga eh. We don't have any access on YouTube or even Google back then, or even let's say Facebook. Talagang hirap. Kung gusto kong kausapin yung tao na gusto kong kausapin, it's either I'm going to go there personally, talk to the phone, which na sometimes kapag sobrang layo talaga, or send them yung alam mo yun, airmail. Naabutan ko pa yon, nag-airmail dati, so that takes around days bago mo sila makausap, lalo na sabihin natin from um, the province, wala talaga. So, going back to the topic of why it matters, because we still need to evolve as human beings in a way that each and every day that we stand up and also plan for each day, the personal encounters that we go through, whether it's good or bad, that everything racks up in our experience, and also how the experience shapes you on being the person you are right now. It may be for the good, which I think naman everyone here are probably a good percentage of people um, grows up in a way that you'd like to be far better than the person you are last year, or sabihin natin yesterday na lang. So that's a part of the hero's journey. But there's a lot of setback then, especially nowadays, and you see people dying, their journeys being cut short due to illnesses, and this whatever is happening right now. So that's a bit demoralizing, actually. Just to share, our family doctor died last week due to the virus, and that's a very very tough blow for me personally, because I know the guy and also he helped me out times na ano ko, down ako. But life needs to go on, as Isa said. This won't stop. Learning won't stop, probably, until it's either you expire or die. I tend to not say the word, to give that three-letter word, because I don't want to be cryptic with people. But it's either that or you're not capable, or it is your body's already given up, not capable of thinking straight anymore, let's say through disease like Alzheimer's. But yeah, every day that you go in life, it's part of your hero's journey, and it's very essential that you yourself know this. You yourself know that each and every day that you plan, go through, or even sitting down inside a square sorry, a square table, and also in the office, that's still part of your hero's journey, because at the end you're being rewarded with money. Ganun lang yun, parang boss lang yun eh. Nalabanan mo yung boss, babayaran ka nila. It's the same with that. Or when you talk with people, gaining their experience, or talking with someone of influence, knowing what their background was, you gain from their knowledge and also add it to your own, again, for the positive, giving you a more positive outlook in life or whatever your goals are. If you also go out there and achieve something, let's say you try to transition from being an agent and then you want to be a musician, let's say, and then nagawa mo yun, even if there's a bit of hindrance, that's also another journey that you need to go through, and also gaining a lot of experience in that one. So basically, yes, the hero's journey is not dead, as far as people might say it is. No, as long as you're alive, people, you're subjected to whatever experience in life that you need to, intentionally or unintentionally. So I think that's a pretty condensed pretty condensed conversation that we have with this topic. Parang bilis na natapos kung tutusin. But let me just dive a bit more. This is actually out of the guides that I gave you. But who would you consider in real life the most important figure, or is your hero in real life?
You mean like a living
Yeah,
person?
yeah, yeah, living person.
Oh,
Historically, well, let's not limit it. Sorry, let's not limit it with a real life person. Let's say just someone who's highly influenced in being the person you are right now.
wait, can you repeat the question? Someone that has highly influenced
Yeah,
me?
highly influenced you on being that person that you are right now. Like your hero, sabihin natin.
Okay, I could go down two routes with this, but I think I'm gonna go with
It's up to
the,
you.
the other one. Wait, let me rethink this. Honestly, don't wanna get all preachy, but it's not a person. It's God. I
I
am
agree.
someone
Mm.
that paid well. It was only this year also that I paid a lot more attention, or I gave a lot more importance to my relationship with God. And
Good.
ever since I did that, I really felt the biggest difference. And I think that's what I really needed to get through this year. And so to answer your question, it really would be God. I feel like not in like religion or whatever, but I'm at this point right now wherein I know that everything that I've done, everything that I've overcome this year and like throughout my 23 years of living, I didn't do alone.
Oh yeah.
Um yeah, so that's how I see it, and that's how I think that's what sort of keeps me sane at this point with all the uncertainty and stuff. So yeah.
Mm.
What about you?
I think we have the same thing common as far
Oh.
as that's concerned. But I would approach it in saying that being spiritually inclined and also morally inclined to what, again, this is our opinion, ladies and gentlemen, morally inclined to what the Bible says. So at least I try to ground myself on that one, since I was also formerly a, a singer and also a musician in our church before, so I know. Um, and also, one thing that I understood during that journey, which I'm trying to relive, also rediscover right now, is how easy it is to actually be calm and also relaxed, knowing that someone is actually looking after you and someone's in control. I'm not sure if you
Mhm.
already encountered that. Like when you pray, it lifts a lot of burden out of your shoulders,
Yeah.
and most of the time, the answer does come. It may not come immediately, may not arrive immediately, but the results of your prayer will eventually be there. Yeah, my mom background, also a full-fledged Christian. But yeah, I would say I would rank God as a number one. It will
Mhm.
never be toppled by anything or anyone else, regardless. Siguro number two ko would be It's hard to say. Parang dami kasing tao na kausap na giving you the influence that you need. But I think there's a certain online friend of mine, and also he's a TEDx speaker,
Oh,
and
wow.
he's a mentor, at least an online mentor before. I know him. Actually the second guest in my podcast, which I regret. Should have gotten him later on when I knew what I was already doing. His name is Peter Sage. He's a personal development coach and also TEDx speaker. Also a call this. He is a how do I say this one? Give me just a second. He's one of the students of the 50 million, or actually $1 billion man, Dan Pena. If you research that one, that guy is actually has a wealth of knowledge on how to acquire wealth. So he's one of the few proteges of Dan Pena, and also friend of Dan Locke. If you know Dan Locke,
Oh. Mhm.
both of them were students of Dan Pena in Guthrie's Castle, which they immersed themselves for about a week just talking about how to acquire wealth in the right way. But it's a very, very hard thing to do because you will be subjected to some of the worst things na pwedeng sabihin sa'yo ng tao. It's like a military-esque bootleg or boot camp. Sorry. So, ganun siya kahirap. I've seen the videos kasi pinopost niya and minsan sinesend niya sa akin. Yeah, I'm not even if I wanted to, hindi ko kakayanin in person. Kasi he will dissect. He will immediately point you out because you will be passing your application eh. Hindi ka basta-basta pwede pumasok sa seminar na yon. You'll be giving them an application. You'll be answering some questionnaires on what part of your business you actually failing. So, syempre, i-highlight niyan in front of, let's say, 10, 15 people lang yun nandun. Mamata-matahin ka niya in order for you to be that tough of a person that you need to be in real life. Again, that's experience, diba? If someone
Mhm.
teaches you how to be tough in life, that's actually a lot of thought on that person na tuturuan ka to condition yourself on how the real life works. Because right now we have a lot of soft people na onting ganito, sabihin lang nilang pangit ng ginawa mo, quit na ako bukas. Because people seem to think that I need to give up because of one negative feedback rather than move on or
Mhm.
at least assess what we're doing, especially me. Um, Assess what we're doing and then come up with a plan and go back stronger. Or if you need to really stop for a while and assess what you're doing if it's still for you, diba? It's still, alam mo yun, it's still experience based talaga. And you don't have to give up. Yung mga simple roadblocks, as they say. So, ayun. Yung number two ko, number three would probably be Michael Jordan for obvious reasons. I like the guy's passion and also his unrelenting drive to be one of the best. Actually, he's the best player of all time. So inherently all of us are competitive. If someone says otherwise, he has to check his or her reality because if you don't be competitive in this world talagang kakainin ka ng buhay, as they say.
In a healthy way.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we're both in consensus that again the hero's journey still matters nowadays. It's fine. So that went through quickly. It's around 20 minutes of discussion on that one because I'm anticipating the next hour we will be throwing some stuff at each other. Na talagang there will be some question about why did you do this? Why did you pick this? But yeah, we're going to switch over to the next topic, and will be our world building, including arranging our own team of heroes and also villains, and we will be asking each other why and how we came up with them. But before that, I'm just gonna play something over from my band, and just treat it like a CR break for us both as well. Give us about 5 minutes on this one. As everyone knows, or at least people in my circle knows, I do have a band which plays either anime covers, sort of, but we mainly play video game music, mostly Final Fantasy music. I'll be playing something off Final Fantasy VII. If you're familiar with that one, it's called The One Wing Angel. Sephiroth's theme. Going to apologize. The first minute of this performance doesn't sound great camera wise, so I just stitch it up. All three conventions that we played, One Winged Angel. So I hope you guys enjoy. We will be back in a few minutes after this one. Just kidding.
again, thank you for having us. We are Project Materia.
All right. So that was a few music from Project Materia. Band that I play with, or this is a band that I started a few years back. Yeah, hmm, yeah, it's already around 6 years of the band. We do play mostly cover songs, either anime songs or the Black Mages based pieces, notably from Final Fantasy. I'm also going to play one more later before we end, but right now let's go ahead and discuss the more interesting stuff. More interesting stuff because really looking forward to talking about this topic with someone who actually at least has the same idea of what I said. So right now, this part of the podcast or whatever you call it, we will be discussing some world building on our end, or at least fantasy world building, and also here teams of heroes that we assembled, and how see how compare in real life, not really, because it's a fantasy list. So how we actually formulated them based on our biases and also our favorite characters, probably influenced by some. So would you like to start this one, Isa?
Okay, wait, before before we
Okay.
really start, I just want to say disclaimer again. I may or may not know the games that you have
Oh,
played or
I
the
will
characters that you
be
mentioned.
I will
Yeah.
be at least giving a hint on how which characters influence which on the
Okay.
list, or at least
Okay.
most
Okay.
of them, because some of them are really just fictional. And it's not
Okay.
a
Okay.
very long list. I think it's a very long list in part of the heroes side, but on the villains it's a bit more generic, at least.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, whenever you're ready.
Should I start with like the main characters, the people?
It, you, whichever you're most comfortable with. You could also start with what type of world they are in.
Okay.
Mm.
So, oh my gosh, because I was brainstorming yesterday and I was like, I when it came to the characters, I didn't have much of a hard time, but when it came to the villain and the world, that's sort of when I couldn't really put a final answer. So I'm just gonna be really descriptive in terms of the
Mm.
world, because usually when and again, this is because of recency bias based on all the games that I've just played within the past 3 months. That's really what impacted my decision. Um, I am, for whatever reason, I am drawn to the dystopian type of world. And that's like a yeah, it's a
Yeah, no, no, no.
given
I
type
mean,
of
it's
world.
almost, I almost have the same thing initially. It's a good thing that I
Uh-huh.
devoided from it because I think my guess would probably pick a dystopian world. Anyway, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, then it's a good thing then. Well, I mean, because one of the games that really popped into my mind while I was planning this is Dying Light. I discussed this with PJ from Chill Talks podcast during our other collab. But whenever
Good
I play a
episode,
game,
also good episode.
oh
Check that out,
yeah,
guys.
thank you for listening to it. Um, Anyway, like whenever I play a game, something that I pay attention to is whether or not there's a good story behind the game. Like I'm all in for action. Like I think that's a given that the game has a lot of action and a lot of like fighting whatever. But is there a story? And so when I was playing Dying Light, I was like, wow. Like first the graphics were really great. But I think and here's the funny thing with Dying Light, I really don't do well with horror games or games in general that require me to react right away. Because I tend to panic. I tend to have like slower reflexes than most people. And so with Dying Light, it really took me a long time to get used to it. But what really got me hooked is the story. And one of the things that I noticed right away is how the world was built, also, like not just in terms of graphics, but how everything was sort of placed or positioned within like the map. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was just in my mind, it was strategically built. Like the main tower where you start off, it's the center of the game, but everything that you have to do is so far. And I think what's cool about it is um you don't have one path to take. I think that's common in most games, but like you're literally free to travel wherever it is that you
Mm.
want to
Especially
go
for
to.
open world ones.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what I would want my world to look like in a way. I don't know if this is going to make sense, but I would want it to be strategic for the player, but also they have the liberty to maneuver in whatever way they want and still following that dystopian theme. I like the fact that I like it when there's, I don't know if this is gonna sound weird, but it's like the buildings are the buildings aren't okay. Like obviously when you think of dystopian, there's different types of worlds that can pop into your mind when you think of dystopian. There's dystopians wherein you have full functioning cities and people are there, but the communities that they're living in is what makes it so dystopian. But then there's also the raggedy, messed up worlds that they have, and yeah, you should play it. I really recommend it. Like I, the
Yeah,
amount of
I
times
think
I died though,
Evanders is actually a gaming streamer, so let's
you
go
should
ahead and
try it.
answer that question from a person who actually played the game. So, from a scale of 1 to 10, Isa, how would you scale Dying Light, and is it recommended for Evanders to play it?
Oh, that I feel pressured right now. I don't know what games you're into.
No, I mean this is
Evander,
on your perception. It's like a suggestion because
I
this guy
uh
he does play a lot of games, pero naghahanap din siya ng mga survival horror and also action horror games that you like to play aside from Resident
okay.
Evil as well.
Okay, okay. As someone who doesn't like horror games, the fact that I really enjoyed it, I would give it a solid 9. And I'm also looking forward to Dying Light 2, which comes out next year. So yeah, I feel like you should try it out.
Is it
Go
really
ahead.
that hard? Is it really that hard?
I mean, for me, it was. I died so many times.
So that's the challenge talaga. The setting,
um, I guess it also depends on what
difficult setting.
difficulty
Mm.
you set it to. I remember we tried it on hard mode right away. It wasn't playable for us, and so
Mm.
we switched to story mode. Or wait, was it the opposite? Anyway, it's I think
Mm.
if you're really looking for difficulty, Dying Light can offer it, but then you can also notch it down a bit if you want to.
Okay.
So anyway,
Anyway,
check it
well,
out. And
anyway, Ivan, you got the recommendation from a person who actually played it. Ako siguro, I would suggest then just because of the amount of people that I know from the West is playing it. So, yeah. And again, hayop mga zombie. Yeah, 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 it is. Ganun talaga eh. May parang nocturnal ng zombies dun eh. Sumalakas sila. But yeah, so just try to play it, Ivan, if you do have the time and get around it sometime in the future. Do stream it if you plan to. So papanoorin kita.
oh yeah, we'll watch.
But definitely. So sorry, we got sidetracked there. We're talking about dystopian themes again. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
That's basically what I would build, and this is gonna be related to why my characters are formed that way. But that's pretty much it in terms of a general concept of what the world would look like.
You have a more detailed concept of what you like your world to be, the world of your heroes and also villains be like, because I have very small details on that one.
Um, I don't know what else, what other details to include because I've focused a lot on the
No, yeah, it's
heroes.
fine. I mean,
Okay, yeah.
I just mentioned that you had a far more detailed world
Oh, really?
description
Okay.
rather than me because I only have one, two, three sentences on. But yeah,
Whoops.
sorry. Go
Okay.
ahead again.
Oh, do I continue with like the
Yeah,
entire
continue.
world? Oh, like in
Do
one
you
go?
want us to go back and forth
Yeah.
or
Yeah, yeah.
Probably in the world, because when it comes to the characters, mas maganda yung sambu na
Yeah,
you're
the
going to
the
get.
whole
So
team. Mhm.
yeah, on my world setting, I would offer a. I'm not sure if we could classify this one as dystopia as well, but I tried to move it away from that. Um, yeah, I would opt for a mix of futuristic infrastructure, but also retain some of those Renaissance period. So
Mhm.
medyo hybrid siya between Final Fantasy and also, let's say, if you've watched or played, no, you haven't played this one, Tron. You know
I've heard
Tron.
of it. I'm familiar, but I've never played it.
Let me just show you what Tron looks like para medyo ano ka din. A bit familiar on how it actually looks like. Um, mm, it's a very futuristic game and something made from the 80s. Nagkaroon na siya ng ano, ng movie before, and also a movie in, I think, 2009 or 10, named Tron
Mhm.
Legacy. It's basically a very futuristic city, but it's also based in a game as well. So nagawa siya through AI. And I know you guys talk about the metaverse before. If you watch this movie, you might probably rethink about your decision in going forward with the metaverse if you watch this movie. This is actually a prime example on what happens if an AI goes rogue. And Ivan and I also had a discussion about this last week in our Metal Gear Solid 2. Not sure if you've have seen that one. We talked with a YouTuber and also gamer who dissected a part of Gear Solid 2 where Kojima, the maker of the franchise, actually tackled some issues when it comes to censorship and also AI. So that game was made in 2001, and it reflects totally on what's happening right now in regards to AI and censorship. Or at least most of them. So this is how Tron looks like.
Oh, wow.
So it's a bit dystopia feels then, I think, kasi um everyone's fighting for survival. So more ganyan, you can see the aesthetics of them wearing some stuff, also the light cycles and everything. So that's Tron.
How would you incorporate the Renaissance architecture? Like, you mean the remnants?
Yeah,
Yeah?
probably the
Oh.
remnants. At least the designs of the buildings, because when I, I what I like about Tron is, alam mo yun, it's futuristic, because who doesn't want to see what actually happens in the future as far as infrastructure is concerned.
Mhm.
But you also would like to have a bit more of the old times, or at least the old golden era, say 1800s era, incorporated on modern times, or this futuristic times as far as paintings are concerned, and also a lot more incorporated on whatever the buildings are. It's a very stark contrast when you think about it. But I think
Yeah.
the inner artist in me just screams for something different, rather than being in the future now. Oh yeah, this is the future that I'd like to see. Is it actually the future that we all want to see? Don't we want to be
Mhm.
reminded about how good or how great the past really was? So that's why.
Ooh, that's a good point. Mhm.
Yeah, and I want my children, or at least the future, to actually see, because in a few years we could actually call this age that we're in right now also going to be another Renaissance age, inevitably. So parang ano nga eh, when you look at it, 1980s and also 70s wasn't that long ago, but we're already calling them old school at this point, diba?
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's it for Tron. If you haven't watched the movie, at least Tron Legacy, you at least take a look into it, kasi maganda siya. In some point, maganda siya. But
Yeah, I
it's,
have when I was a kid, but since I was a kid, I was like, "Wow, okay, lights."
especially the light cycle thing, and how they use the light cycles is very very innovative. So Remove ko muna para makapag-concentrate tayo. I could talk about Tron all day. Yeah. Actually, oo nga, 11 years ago na, Jay. Which is very sad
That's
or
so weird.
nakakagulay. Yeah, weird. Like, I just watched this movie a few years ago, and that 11 years ago. But yeah, it's also a good movie. So I think that's it. Um, I would also try to retain most of the modern day rules and regulations as far as concerned. Because when it comes to futuristic themes, you tend to be more controlled sa tao, di ba? If you've seen, at least
Mhm.
in movie themes, na the more you have technology, the more it's being regulated by people. Try to veer away from that one. But when it comes to the villains later, you'll see that how controlling people are. It's really inevitable when you're doing this sort of talk or this during this sort of list. So I think that that would be the world setting that I chose to. So would you like to go forward with your villains and heroes list? Also,
Okay. Would it be okay if I start off with the heroes?
it's up to you, whichever you're most comfortable talking with about first.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm really excited about my team. Well, my team. Um okay. So I have two main characters and like a couple of supporting characters, but for the two main characters, what I wanted them to be like is, again, this is because of recency bias, but I stand by it so hard. My main protagonist, I would want a hybrid of Geralt of Rivia and Kyle Crane of Dying Light. The reason for that is, for Geralt, man, who doesn't want to be Geralt? Honestly, his skills, I would also want his Witcher senses in my game. I think I need that in real life also. But I think, I don't know, there's something about Geralt that is, it just screams protagonist to me. But then the reason why I wanted to add in Kyle Crane, which is from Dying Light, is because I like the fact, well, at least this is for me. I like the fact that my protagonist would still be human in some way. Like, um in this dystopian world that I had in mind, what I was imagining were what I was imagining is that people would there would be a mix of people that, were normal humans. They would be considered like the weak people. And then there would also be humans that developed some type of power, some type of mutation that gave them power. And so that's why I immediately thought of Geralt. And since I still want a very human counterpart, Kyle Crane, I think in terms of agility, I think that's something that I would need in real life also. And I think he would be the best person to mix with Geralt. So that's my number one. For my number two,
I have a
okay,
question first regarding Gerald of Rivia.
yeah,
I know The Witcher by name, but I haven't really dived into it. But isn't he part of a race
yes,
um
I
instead of
think so. If I
actually
remember
acquiring
correctly. Hmm.
acquiring the skills that they have through mutation or anything? It was really inherited
Mm.
with him, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember what the specific term is right now, but
Okay,
he's
season two also of The Witcher
yeah,
sometime next
yeah,
year,
it's
I think.
coming out.
Sorry, go ahead.
Ayun. And so that would be my number one. For my second character, this is gonna sound silly, but I still am very much inclined to have a character like this. So in Super Smash Bros, the only character that I am capable of using is Kirby. And I'm not even good. I'm not even good as Kirby. All I know is to float in the air and hopefully not get hit by someone else. But I don't know, there's something about Kirby. I'm really attracted to that character. And that's why I also named my dog after Kirby. But anyway, I would want my character to still be human, but because of whatever mutation that happens in this dystopian world, um, this character has the ability to somehow replicate or absorb the power of someone else. Not in the sense that you would not in the sense that the character would have to eat another person or another character like what Kirby essentially does, but more of like what I was imagining was like if there's a specific event or a specific time of day that this character gains so much power that with just one touch they could absorb something. I don't know. That's what I had in my mind. And I think in the world that I was creating, that would be something really cool to have. It's not like a skill that can be used over and over again. It really has to be timed. And so that's why there's that hint of importance and um it's like you have to give thought in terms of when you're actually going to use this skill, something like that. Because another thing, like in games, sometimes like the players actually they like to abuse the skills of what their characters have, sort of. Um, but yeah, those are my two main heroes. I think they would be um an intriguing mix, an intriguing duo. But yeah, should I move on to the support, or do you want to
Yeah,
share
sure.
yours?
I mean,
Okay.
it would be good that I don't actually interrupt the flow of what you're doing, because it's
Okay.
far better for us to actually know the entire list, and then let's go ahead and throw questions on that one again. Because if I interrupt it, it's going to be a very hard thing to recover from. Kasi parang alam mo
Okay.
yun, medyo maano na tayo. Not sidetrack, but malilito na tayo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
true.
It's like, parang naisip ka na, is it, yeah. But my end, I would prefer that we finish through our list first. And then after you finish, probably ask questions there. And then going to start with mine. Because
Okay.
mine is a very,
Gotcha.
very short list. Probably similar to what you have. The only thing is I'll discuss later. Yeah, you can go ahead whenever you're ready with your heroes list or
Okay.
continuing on.
So,
Okay, thanks.
mhm. So those are my two characters, and then for the supporting characters, I have three. The first one, the very first one that popped into my mind. This isn't from a game, but it's from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I would really love someone that is similar to
Ang.
General Iroh,
Oh, okay.
and what I had in mind is like, if there's these two courageous, really powerful characters, I would want someone that's more of age, equally powerful, but also knows when to use that power, because like Iroh in the series, he doesn't really fight that much. But he's a super strong person, right? His bending skills are crazy, but he knows the time and the place for it. And I think it's that wisdom that these two characters would definitely need. I imagine they would be a bit arrogant at the start, and so I would need someone like Iroh there. And then another one, the other character that I had in mind that I would want to include is Trevor from GTA, and that's because when I was playing GTA, I didn't. Well, I played it. I played it briefly. Um, Trevor's really funny to some extent. He's a mean person. He's a jerk, but he has that level of I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm going to do what I have to do. And then he gets it done. But then also, his side comments are really funny. Sometimes they're rude, but they're funny. And I would want my supporting members to have that sense of humor to some extent. Um, because when I was building this team, I thought about it on levels. And so, two main characters, they are relatively they have their integrity, they know their morals and stuff, but they get sidetracked, and that's why they need like Iroh there. And then this Trevor character or Trevor-like character, he would be sort of the one that triggers or pushes the two main characters, like press their buttons and stuff. Sort of like a mini test to see if they're gonna to see what they'll decide as a team. And again, for the humor of it, I think he's also really funny. And then the next one, this is my this is my blank character.
Mhm.
And I say blank because I wasn't sure if I wanted a love team in this team.
Okay, here we go.
I don't know, me personally, I kind of like it when there's a love team involved, but I don't like the cringy type or
Guilty as
the.
charged because I also have it on my list. So
Oh,
yeah.
really?
And
Okay.
this is going to be a very interesting twist later.
Okay, okay. So I left it as a blank because I'm still not sure who that person would be, but it's either it's someone that would be involved in the love team with
Mm,
one of the two characters, or it would be another person. Um Recency bias, I'm thinking of Eric right now. Eric from Sex Education. It's a Netflix series and he's super funny. I love his character. He's so bright, he's so bubbly. And I think having a personality like that would somehow make the group even more complex but
mhm,
equally interesting because there's so many different personalities that you have. And I don't know, like with teams in general, I like the fact that you can get so many different people, but then they still manage to work together. I like that idea. I think that's what happens in real life also, but most people sometimes they don't like that fact. So yeah, that would be my blank character. Either a love interest or just another humorous, bubbly person that sort of keeps the environment of a dystopian world relatively lighter, if that makes sense.
mm.
But yeah, that would be my main team. It's
You
just
you
really
did
funny because I have it on my phone, and so I'm just looking
you
at
did
it
mention
and.
that you have some supporting characters as well in your team, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so um those three would my those three would be my supporting characters
Mm.
actually.
Oh, okay. Wow. Mm. All right. Um, would you like to proceed with your villains as well?
Okay. My villain, well, in
Because
terms.
the reason why I mentioned that you proceed with the villains because I want to see the contrast of what you're doing, and then I'll ask the questions later if I do have them.
Oh, okay. With the villains, like I said earlier, this is like one of the things that I couldn't figure out right away. I actually had to search like what makes a good villain, or I also searched like what were the best villains in video games because I really just pay attention to the heroes mostly. And since I've been playing a lot of open world, there isn't really one villain um that the main character has to face. You know what I mean? It's like there's not much build up in terms of like, or
Yeah.
at least compared to a normal RPG that has like a fixed storyline.
Hmm.
But I think in terms of villains, something that I would want is a story arc that would start from his childhood. And since it's a dystopian world, I was thinking like what if this villain was sort of the main root of all the mutations. So like the concept that I had because I made those two characters, they would somehow be half human, half like mutated person,
Okay.
and that mutation had to be caused by something, had to be caused by something really drastic. And I figured, what if this villain was the source of all that, but no one ever finds out until these main two characters are like of grown age and they're more involved with protecting the city and whatnot.
Mm.
And so that's sort of in terms of specific story arcs, I don't know what his backstory is, but that's like the main thing that I had in mind, if that makes sense.
Mm. Okay.
And then he would be like Trevor times 500 in terms of how he approached people, like super rude, super would shoot anyone right away.
So you have
Yeah.
that guy. You have that kind of person against you. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's mine. That's
Mm.
those are the characters that I thought of when I was brainstorming. And yeah, what about you?
Okay, so I'll just ask the questions first before we proceed. My
Okay.
mine's
Okay.
a
Oh
bit
my gosh.
long because the villain team is just as equal as what I have on the heroes. So
Oh.
I have five, no, four on the heroes team, and I also have four other characters in the villain team.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Um.
Okay.
So in terms of encounters, how would you actually see your main hero encountering the main villain that you have? What kind of conversations do you think they'll have before they fight? Do they also have any morality, contrast of morality in play as well? Do they have any differences or similarities that you think of, or you haven't really thought about?
Okay. Um when we talk about villains, something, and I think this is mostly from the movies that I've watched, not necessarily video games,
Mm,
but I think what makes a villain so powerful, to me at least, is how firm they are with what they're doing, in the sense that to them, they're really doing the right thing. And
most of them,
that's
yeah.
why they're so capable of doing so much damage, and they don't necessarily care who has to, pay the price. I think that's a trait that um, a lot of villains, or at least the villains that I would want to have in this world that I built, to have. So in terms of values, it's like what I'm imagining right now is they have the same values, but their perspectives on it are so twisted. Does that
Mm,
make sense?
yes,
Does
that
that
makes
make
sense.
sense?
Mm.
Mhm.
Basically, there's
And
going to
so
be an overlapping issue regarding the morals of your hero and also your villains per se. So
mhm,
if you don't have a villain that actually opposes on what the hero thinks of, that automatically disqualifies him, or for the most part disqualifies him as a villain,
oh, yeah.
because they don't have anything opposing each other, especially when it comes to morals. What we see in storytelling in movies is that sometimes there's a similarity between the hero and also the villain. If you watch a Dark Knight, that's probably one of the best storytelling as far as heroes and villains is concerned. You could see that the Joker has something in similar with Batman. Like, you just have to push Batman into a very bad day, and eventually he might become the Joker as well. But
Mhm,
there's the morals that Batman won't really touch into, or go way beyond from, which is killing another person. So he won't do that. He has those rules. The Joker has no rules. So that automatically makes them heroes and villains as far as storytelling is concerned. But yeah, I do understand what you're saying. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's
so that's, oh, in terms of encounter, um,
gonna be
let's
physical, or would be a
see.
mental war or something. We didn't- or, or you haven't really thought about that much.
Honestly, I haven't thought about it that much, but
That's
right
why.
now, I think I
Mm,
would still want them to have really brief encounters throughout, the hero's journey. Sort of like it gives the hero an idea of what they're actually facing, and then each encounter that they have, they just find more about that villain, and they learn more about what he's actually doing and how dangerous that villain actually is. But it's super brief, like maybe two times only, and then at the end, that's sort of like the main battle or something.
mm,
But yeah.
nice. Yeah. Okay. How about this? Medyo naging cheesy na. Pero how about this um, love connection between the characters that you have? Is it actually something that you develop organically? Do you think they will develop organically, or is it going to be through chance that they meet each other or talk about it? These are the tough questions.
I feel like for the main two characters,
Mm.
I wouldn't want them to know each other right away. I feel like in my head, I would want them to clash at the start,
Yeah.
sort of like bickering and stuff. But for the three supporting, for Iroh, Trevor, that's so funny. I heard Iroh, Trevor, and whoever that third character is, whether love interest or humorous person, I think they could have a backstory wherein they already know each other, but they see each other as more of acquaintances, not necessarily people that they work with or talk to every single day.
Mm.
Because I like how people merge together, not out of their own volition, but sort of what you said. There's just an instance that makes them all meet, and then they realize you guys fill in what I lack, I fill in what you lack. Let's
Yeah.
join forces. I really enjoy that. I think that's such a cool thing to be able to do, especially as humans too.
It's
Um,
filling in the what do you call this? Filling in the void of each other as well.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and I think it's also fitting to just acknowledge that they have so many differences, so they will also fight internally, but it's mostly remembering that goal or remembering the bigger picture as to why they actually got together in the first place. So it's more of putting their interests, their whatever it is that they're used to aside.
Uh-huh.
They're gonna have trouble doing that, obviously, because they're characters. They have emotions, they rage and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like they're reminded of what they're doing and why they're doing it. So that's how I would want them to develop, at least.
And also just to touch on the entire story arc as well. Do you think, or at least in your head, your imagination, do you think the heroes would actually triumph over the villain?
No,
Oh, that's
not right away, at
not
least.
right away. Yeah, yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah. I think okay because everyone has to go through obstacles and also adventures in order for them to properly succeed against a villain if presented the they call this the opportunity to do so. So I think that's all the questions that I have. Actually, that wasn't really part of our discussion asking questions, but I just threw it in because it will be eventual that we will be interested in the list that we individually have. So sorry, finish out the world setting. I'm going to start first with the villains because it's very interesting. For me, you won't have a very compelling or a very good hero if the villain isn't as equally as
Mhm.
interesting or as powerful, or maybe not really. Or sometimes the villain is more powerful than the hero. Um, I have one, two, three, four. Actually, it's three and two generic. So the generic guys doesn't really need to have any explanations. Well, not that much. So as I said a while ago, the greater the villain, the bigger the battles are at stake, and the higher the experience my team probably receive throughout the entire encounters that they may have in the future. But for the main villain, I actually chose a mix of popular villains tropes, or at least as far as I know. What he is a person who has control over entire society. Number one. Yeah, you really have that kind of villain there. He also has great knowledge about technology and also how to train soldiers to follow his orders. So you have that
Mm,
kind of general
the
that
minions.
yeah, he has probably military background also. And but despite all of that power, this guy he has a polarized perception of how the society or the city thinks about him. Some may actually consider him as a savior because on the past war, he was a hero. Current time, he
Mm.
isn't. this comes into play that who decides to go for the worst calls in life, because since you're at the top, you need to make those bad judgments, or at least bad in their eyes, as as you mentioned a while ago. um the villain would actually be that person who will be capable of doing those calls, whether or not it will affect other people or this small fraction of people, just for the quote unquote greater good, as far as I see it. As far as the skills is concerned, also the attributes, he basically does have some sort of super strength, but not Superman type of strength level. Again, he's also knowledgeable in technology. He has very high battle IQ, since he's already a battle hardened veteran when it comes to the story. And he is also very cunning, very smart, how to manipulate people and doing the decisions that he wants to. I think this is a very popular type of villain that we know of. Sometimes you could relate it, but this was actually highly inspired of three villains. Number one's an evil Captain America, which is
Mm.
really not that common. The Hail Hydra Captain America. Also number two, inspired by, if you're familiar with Death Note, obviously you probably heard of it. Light
Mhm.
Yagami's also has some influence on this character. And number three, since he also knows a lot about technology and also has the money to do some stuff, I chose number three inspiration. He's a famous Superman villain. Probably know him, Lex Luthor. So if you combine those three, you have the physical aspects, you have a very cunning and also a smart individual in Light, and you have another smart person who really knows the ins and outs of, let's say, capitalism and also technology and everything. That's with Lex Luthor. So for me, that's a very very hard person to topple out of the government, or at least win against that sort of villain. Later you'll know why. Number two is actually not entirely a villain. I could consider her. Now you know why. Her as an anti-hero, because he is coupled by um a reluctant anti-hero, female, obviously, forced to serve both the society and the ruler as she finds it to be for the greater good. If you get where I'm coming from, so not really forced, but there's a point when you have to decide if a person actually is doing something right, and does it actually outweigh what's happening within the regime, or at least the whatever population you're controlling. So she decided to go with that guy, the dictator, or the former war hero turned leader, because she decided that, yeah, probably do a lot more good being an influence, because the people in the society actually love this person. But there also comes a big responsibility that people may love you, but you're still affiliated with someone that they don't actually like,
Mm, yeah.
especially that being a leader of a society is very, also very polarizing on her end. But she's far contrast compared to the main villain. No, he goes with fear and an iron fist. Opposite to him is her. She shows a lot of compassion and love towards people, giving them second chances and everything, giving them, um, being also inclined to that person that actually prays a lot. And but she also has low tolerance towards people who are against the current rule, because in her mind, the villain is doing the right thing.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
As I mentioned a while ago, this mystery character, you shall know about and how she is connected with the main character. And people
Okay.
are going to ask me, who is this actually inspired by? It's actually just inspired by one person, and it's also my favorite female character in gaming. I think a few people know this one, but she's actually inspired by this person. You know
Oh,
her?
that's in the GIF that you used.
Yes, it's Aerith
Mhm.
Gainsborough from Final Fantasy VII. Which, yes, if there's only one woman in gaming that I probably want to meet in real life, this would be her. Gently put that one down. But yeah, you know at least now you know my bias when creating that sort of an anti-hero, because in Final Fantasy VII, she's probably the most hero of all the characters. She's a very straightforward girl. She prays a lot and also has a positive vibe people love. Though in the original game, she died being stabbed through the heart by the villain Sephiroth. I don't know. I just gravitate towards her attitude. If you do have the time to look up the videos, it, they do have some character breakdowns and why people really love Aerith. But there's another fan favorite in that game named Tifa. So yeah, whatever. Yeah. The third one would be a mentor figure. Obviously, everyone needs that in their team. So, uh, this guy is going to be a bit older than everyone else. So probably around
Mhm.
70 years old or even older. He also acts as an advisor who knows a lot about the ancient arts, which the main villain doesn't really know much about, and also has a lot of knowledge in martial arts background, art of war tactics, and everything that you know about war. He also acts like the moral compass, just in case the main villain goes over the rails. But you also have that with the main anti-hero female. So this would probably give you an idea on how ruthless the main villain is. If you need two moral compasses on your team in order to
Yeah.
keep you at bay, that gives you a very stark idea on how, not really bad, but how really um what do you call that term? How, I forgot it, but I mean, how focused he is on what he wants to do, and how um defined the goals are in order for him to not really achieve absolute control, but to make sure everything is okay. But sometimes it tends to be twisted based on the morals, because when you're in that position, sometimes it's just either black and white. It's either or kill or be killed. So he tries to prevent that from happening from main villain. But you also have after that, the mentor also has control over the armies, obviously, and the finances throughout the kingdom. You also have two other generals, one male and one female, and they could be twins, as far as I know. And they're far more powerful than the other generals that he has. So parang ano na sila, added characters na sila. So okay, let's go with the main hero character. It's going to be a bit of an exposition dump, but the main hero is a young adult at this point, probably around the same age as I am, 30, so, who has already worked as an enforcer and also as an assassin.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so a person who's not too well off with life, obviously. Hindi siya mayaman, hindi siya mahirap. Just enough to survive on the surface. That's how it seems. But he is also backed up by someone from the future. Hmm. Essentially, he's also a time traveler. Kaya makikita mo, 30 years old pa lang
Fits
is
right
also
into
an
the world.
enforcer. Yeah, also an enforcer already and some sort of an assassin at this time. He's also being given missions before just to make sure that peace and prosperity prevails on whichever kingdom or world he needs to be sent on. He's already left the life. So at this point, hindi na talaga siya active. It's no longer those two characters. That left the life until he gets visited by the organization head again that he used to work and be affiliated him, telling him that there's a target that they need to fix, and he's the only one capable to take it on. The organization head also tells him that they lost one charismatic, loving agent closely associated to him, and was turned into a part of the regime from the future, to take over the past. I wonder what that is. So, do you see yung relationship nilang dalawa nung anti-hero at this point?
Yeah, yeah.
So, hindi ko linagay yung description, but the main thing is they used to work together,
Mhm.
like closely together. The problem is when it comes to missions, you suffer casualties. It doesn't matter if that was actually the strongest person na mawawala sa team mo. It's really unplanned yung pagkamatay nila. So this guy, or this the hero, the main hero, thought that person already died, just to discover that whatever news that was given to him prior to this mission, she's still alive, but she's already been mind wiped, or at least all of the memories wiped, most of them, and being used by the current villain, or the main villain, as a tool in order to achieve the trust of the people. Syempre, being that person na, okay, I want to really, the main character really wants to attain peace. Now you're going to hit two birds with one stone. You get to fight the villain that you think is wrong in every aspect, and you get to save the girl that you really want to be with. So,
Uh-huh.
mm, yeah. So this character is mainly inspired by, obviously, being an assassin, John Wick, probably. And as I mentioned earlier, since I'm a big fan of Assassin's Creed as well, he's also part of it is also inspired by Altair Ibn Lahad, first first main assassin in Assassin's Creed, and a bit of Bruce Wayne Batman as well. So you have a character na totally capable to go on his own, na walang pakialam sa iba. You just have to give
Mhm.
him you have to give him the specs of the mission. You have to give him some tech or some finances, and then off you go. He'll make sure everything goes well. But this actually takes a very bad turn that the organization head tells him that, oh yeah, Airget's still alive. So
The
dun may
trigger.
turn the dun may turn na, okay, how am I going to approach this knowing that she doesn't even know me at this point.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I haven't written the story after that, so I don't know how the story, but eventually, later, siguro. Yeah. The main hero's assistant, or the co-hero, is currently part of the organization. Also a friend of his, or at least former colleague. He provides all the information and also assistance he needs on the missions and also doing battle. He also provides him with some medicine for his unknown condition. So the main hero has something, some sickness or some sort of condition that no one really knows, just like me. And so he provides a medicine for that to stop it from spreading, and also has complete access on all weapons and arsenal that the main hero needs. This character likes to play more in the background or the back seat rather than getting his hands dirty, lifting the
Mm.
heavy load. So this guy is actually more inspired by modern day assistants on movies. Like, let's say, in a Batman perspective, sabihin natin si Alfred na medyo mas bata. Or si Walter from... if you haven't watched Helsing, you should watch Helsing. It's very, very fun anime if you're into gore and also mythologies, like... Um, vampires versus the undead, which I don't really call this. I don't really recommend for people actually in strong faith, but it's a very good anime. So mas ganun siya. And meaning this main hero would call in for reinforcement for him pero parang reluctant pa siya na mag-assist. Like, okay, I need help here. Okay, I'm just going to send you an upgraded suit instead. May mga ganun. Yung mga ganun na assistant.
Mhm.
Parang, okay, so tamad ka ba or
Yun na
gusto mo
yun.
na ako lumaban? No, no, I just want to be alive because I know that wouldn't be much help. Or alam mo yun, every single excuse that he has, yun ang i-utilize niya. But eventually, they need to fight together in order to break through the the main villain's castle. So that is the second main. And I have two support characters. Not really gonna dive to them that much, but the other character is a female spy. Oftentimes times plays on both ends, both sides. So she cannot be fully trusted, but you can rely on her if she's being paid handsomely. So
Okay.
you have that person in your team again. So okay, I just try to paint, alam mo yun, paint some brush on some dynamics on the characters. But the twist here is she knows. He doesn't really know a lot about her, but she knows about a lot about both the villain and also the main character, the main hero. And she also was a close friend of the main anti-hero. So walang nakakaalam sa kanya dahil when she comes in laging naka-hood, kulay pula na hood. Alam mo yun, usually spies go na parang even if you get to see their face, hindi mo pa rin sila kilala. Yung ganong klaseng
Mhm.
hero. This is actually inspired by another bias of mine, rather Resident Evil bias, Ada Wong from Resident Evil 2. So that woman is actually on the main Resident Evil 2. She was playing both ends. So it may look like na kasama mo siya in your team, but in the background or it's the back end, na parang, oh, she still has that boss that she answers to. So you cannot trust Ada. We're fan of that. Big fan. I'm sensing a theme here na yung mga bias kong ano, women in gaming, lahat sila nakakulay pula for some reason. Not sure why.
Coincidence?
Coincidence because sometimes even before na parang nagsusot daw ako ng pula. Favorite ko ba yung pula? No, actually, no. Red's not my favorite color. But yeah, and yeah, that's why. And the other is a former head of the division, the main hero used to be in. So this is probably the same. He has the same attributes as the general on the opposite end, the old general. More of the moral compass, and also he gives a lot of advice on how to deal with tactics, or if he wants a lot more intel, which the assistant co-hero cannot provide, based on battle IQ, based on how to approach the main villain, how to actually bait him into a fight or anything like that, or even how to conquer. Let's say if there's a mission for them to conquer a specific city in order to get some rebellion team out of it, that he would preferably talk to that former head of the division he's in, because they know each other. He knows his limitations, and alam mo yun, being in that sort of team, you have the trust that this guy will not betray you in any way. So going back to the dynamics of the anti-hero and the hero, eventually they still get together, but
Mhm.
not without consequence. What I mean about consequence, one of them will die.
Oh, no. Do you have an
There's
idea of
going to be a
who?
sacrifice. The main hero will die
Oh, okay.
because that would be the end of the circle of the hero's journey. He's already done
Okay.
everything. You've already conquered everything, and now this is. I think the way I paint it. the main villain is actually it's actually a conduit of what he needs to do in order to save the anti-hero woman.
Okay. I
So
get it. I
there
get
will
the
be
point.
there will be a scenarios there that this is what you need to do in order for her to retain for her to get all of her memories back. Are you willing to go through this? So it's more of a 4D chess thing rather than just
Uh-huh.
physical, alam mo yun, physical na battles that we see in games. This would be both of them sitting down and also talking after a battle. Sabihin natin nanalo na yung main hero. They're going to sit down in front of each other. Now, um you fulfilled the end of your bargain. I defeated you. You have to tell me how to restore um the girl's memories and everything, all of her values, all of her past memories. How do I do that? Essentially, the villain would say, not without any consequence. The, let's say there's a machine there that you need to do. How do I operate the machine? Then you have to offer someone's life, someone dear to her,
Damn.
and
Mm-hmm.
then and you have to offer some sacrifices. So that's the way I imagine the final battle would go. It's not what you would expect from alam mo yun, you have two totally contrasting characters between the main villain, and also the hero. That's not the final battle. The final battle is the decision if you would like to fully rescue the woman, or if you would like no, if you'd like to fully rescue her and pay the price for that one, or if you'd like to continue in your life. But the trade-off of that one is she will be taking the place of the main villain, so it's not going to end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you said that you also are a fan of multiple endings, so that's the multiple ending that I presented in that one.
This is crazy. You have a full-blown story here. Like I'm
Yeah,
I'm curious. Like I love it. I love how everything is tied together. I really enjoy that. How long did it take for you to sort of start thinking about this? Because I don't think this takes just like one night to think of. Because there's a lot of details there that I really appreciate. By the way,
I think it
um,
comes into fact by me being a big movie fan, and I also how I analyze
mm,
stories. So this wasn't really too hard to think about. I mean,
mhm,
the biggest hurdle that I have here is actually how to create a compelling villain. That was
yeah.
actually the hardest thing to do. And also another hard decision is, should I throw the main girl character in as a villain or as a hero?
Oh, okay.
Or those two, because to be honest, I just did this 3 days ago,
Wow. Okay.
and I was planning to write more kasi parang iniisip ko na there's something here that I could write. There's a story here that I could continue if I have the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's also an option here that if I place the main girl character as a hero, there's still going to be a conflict between them and the main hero as well. Like what you prefer on your story. But eventually, here's the twist on that one. Eventually, one of them always has to die.
Uh-huh.
There's no full happy story here, happy ending. There is a happy ending, but
But not for
hindi ko pa
everyone.
siya nasusulat. Hindi ko pa siya nasusulat. I'm not sure why. Parang gusto ko na may sacrifice yung isa. Kasi if you compare it with the hero's journey, there will be that one major sacrifice talaga. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter if whatever that guy needs to give up. He could give up all of his knowledge regarding being an assassin, all of his physical attributes, all of them to the point na hindi na rin siya makikilala ng tao. I could have chose that part. But knowing that this person actually went through everything already, being successful in what he does, being able to save people and also worlds or societies. Parang nagawa na niya lahat eh. So, isa na lang yung hindi niya nagagawa eh, which is to offer your own life in order to save someone you really love. Are you up to that
Mhm.
task? You could ask him, or I could write that either yes or no. Again, the ending of that one, if he does say yes, you will lose your life, but someone else, someone who actually you actually adore, will actually live on. Or you could prefer to go on with your life, but that person that you really wanted to go after will be her next villain in the next franchise. So either
So like
or,
it just keeps happening.
it's going to happen over and over again. And when you face that person again, you have to expect that next time around na mag-face kayo ng babae, mas mahihirapan ka na sa kanya. Because that woman at that time has close connections with the main villain. And
Mhm.
hindi ka na niya kilala as a person. He does have those, alam mo yun, the usual flashbacks now, okay? The memories are coming back, but I don't know what to make of them type of images on the woman's head. Pero without the sacrifice of knowing how to use the device that wiped her memory clean, you won't be able to save her fully. So it's also a moral dilemma on the characters. And I was actually going to write more regarding the dynamics of the female spy and the main character, but I think that was going to be a bit generic already. A lot of people already went that route. Being in love with, oh, yeah, it's another love triangle. Nah, no, definitely not. Maybe that's a different arc. But yeah, that's the entire story. And just to answer the question again, I did this in 3 days, but the characters itself, the main hero, and also the the main hero and also the main character hero, the main woman hero or anti-hero. I already have those characters in the back end for about years already. So that was
Wow,
already a
okay.
formulated template that I have in my head for a long time. Since I'm a big fan of her, so it was easy to incorporate yung ano niya, yung character niya. Kasi when you look at Erit as a person, who wouldn't love this person? It's nearly perfect if you compare an angel in real life na bumaba. That's her. So how do I twist that? How do I actually use that into a disadvantage? Na tipo, you guys work with each other before, you have very close ties, and now makikita mo kalaban na siya for some reason. So that raises a lot
Mhm.
of questions until the end na parang, yeah. And your boss didn't tell you that she's still alive after that last mission. So yeah, it's a lot of storytelling, and I love making stories when it comes to this. Dahil nakakapanood ko din ng movies recently. Yeah. But yeah, do you have any other questions also?
No, I'm honestly like really blown away because there's you put so much thought into it, which I really appreciate. Um, I can really tell that you have a knack and a skill for storytelling, which is kind of hard to have, honestly, especially since we're dealing with more of fictional stuff that really
Yeah.
requires a good amount of creativity and
Mm.
imagination. So I don't know, I'm just really blown away. Thank you for sharing that. I think
No,
it's such a
I'm actually
it's a
very impressed on your world building kasi hindi ko naisip na ganun. Sabi ko, oh yeah, siguro because napaka lame nung world building ko at this point. She actually has this put a lot more thought in world building rather than Airbender. But I also like the way you approach it, and given that this is actually a very short notice, ginawa natin. Yeah. Imagine if we actually scheduled this discussion probably 2 months to 2 weeks from now. Baka mas maganda pa yung
Mhm.
nagawa mo. But it's really good. Then I look forward in developing you develop some of those thoughts, and also you probably could
Mhm.
include them in your episode as well. Do a character discussion, diba?
Gonna note that down for my episode list.
Yeah, I just also love I love movies, or at least for the most part, I love movies, and also love playing into that those characters that I'm really interested in, especially the established ones,
Mhm.
like Batman, um, sometimes Terminator. Hindi ko kasi namin Terminator dito. Yun nga yung balak ko eh. Yung ano, virus ng sorry, Skynet virus or some technological virus that takes over the entire world. Yun yung gusto ko ilagay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was thinking na that's gonna be very generic if I write it down. Like a lot of games even have that premise, diba? Parang okay.
That's
So
true.
and so I think that's this discussion is very interesting, and we could actually go for a lot more time discussing this. Pero we already reached around 2 hours now, and um, let's go ahead and probably a little. Sorry, I can't speak now. I'm not sure why, but let's go into a little bit more time on promotion as well. So I do hope you enjoy that conversation regarding world building and also hero team, and hopefully we could do that again. Let's see, tatago ko tong list na to, develop it, probably do a more story, a newer approach on this one. But I'm going to retain the characters as is. But yeah, so thank you so much for that conversation. Really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And siguro, final question for me to you is, throughout this time that you've been doing this one, not necessarily podcasting, but also yun nga, in relation to video games that you've played and also gone through, the ones you enjoyed, the ones you didn't enjoy, but what is the single best lesson that you have learned from video games that you have applied in real life?
The single best lesson, um, honestly, there's a lot, but if I were to choose only one, it's understanding the concept of leveling up, because you could easily tell yourself that, yeah, I'm going to keep working, I'm going to keep striving for this one goal.
Mm-hmm.
But well, what I realized from leveling up is there's specific things that you can do,
Uh-huh.
and those specific things would give you more experience than other tasks. So, for example, if we want to say that I want to level up to become a millionaire, that's not my goal, but let's just say it as an example.
Anyone wants to.
Um,
You have to
yeah.
be joking around if you say you don't want to be a millionaire.
I mean, it's not my primary goal.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, yeah, it's not money. But going back, it's like there's so many things that you can do to earn money, but what are the things that will really help you build your wealth? When you change the question, um you start to change what you actually decide to do. And I think that's what I learned from leveling up. Like, yeah, it's easy to set a goal and it's easy to set um a vision in your mind, but what is the plan that you have? Do you actually know the difference between the things that will help you reach that and the things that will hold you back, or is that line still blurry? And I think right now that's sort of what I'm trying to apply, at least. Still working on it, but it's a nice concept to keep in mind, especially now that I am in a period of um figuring out where I want to go,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. But yeah, I would say that concept of leveling up, it really, because it's tied into like how you manage your time and how you manage your
Yes.
resources. And same in the games. Like if you're on survival mode, you can't use your resources for something that's useless, because then that would just make things harder for you. That's sort of the concepts that are in my mind right now. And I guess that would be the biggest lesson that I've tried, or at least I am trying to integrate into my life. But yeah, there are a lot more, but that's it.
I think the reason why I ask for the single best one is because it's also content making. So you could reserve those on your content basically. You could do
Yeah.
a lot more content on those lists. That's why I'm not exploiting everything, because Trade secrets, my son, as they say. Yeah. So okay, so my on my end, I would agree. Leveling up is one of the most important things I've learned in even playing video games. It just because of the base knowledge that we have in life that everything has to move on. Number one, each and every day that you live, wake up, whatever, that's already as far as I know, leveling up. The only limiting thing that you have there is your beliefs in life. Like to move forward, like to improve, like to actually learn a lot more. That decision comes or relies basically on that person and how he approaches his own life. We can't force them to do whatever they need to do in order to survive. That decision needs to come from them. So we could
Mhm.
only improve ourselves. We could help people improve as well. But at the end of the day, there's no other person who's going to help you more than yourself. Aside from
It's
the man
definitely
upstairs,
true.
aside from the man upstairs, if you believe it, I mean them, the people watching, if you guys believe it, in the end, it's going to be your decision. So we're about to close here, but I also like to in classic ZHD tradition. I also like to get your recommendations, Isa. Um, what are you into nowadays? May it be movies, games, books, or whatever you're into.
Let's see. Well, like I said earlier, I haven't been playing much games because I've been busy, and also I'm trying to upgrade my RAM at the moment. I still can't find.
Hmm.
Well,
Okay.
I found a place, but it's far from where I live, so I have to schedule that. But in terms of gaming, again, Dying Light, and then also New World. It's something that I have played in the past month, and I'm looking forward to playing it in the weeks to come once I get my laptop fixed. In terms of movies, there is one movie that I would love to recommend. It's called Free Guy.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I've already watched it. It's it's better than this is going to be a very unpopular opinion, but it's going to be better than most of the superhero movies that went out this year for me.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes,
Okay. Well, I really enjoyed that film. I don't know.
because
There.
it's a movie that you actually enjoy watching. First and
Mhm,
foremost, is a very fun movie. It doesn't really take
mhm.
itself too serious, and it
Yeah. Yeah.
knows that it is just some sort of a parody movie.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
As opposed to some other movies nowadays na we're trying hard to please an audience. No. In Free Guy, you just have to at least have a basic knowledge of what Gran Turismo, or sorry, GTA is. And then you'll just enjoy
You
it.
sort of get it. Uh
Yeah,
huh.
you're going to get it just because number one, Ryan Reynolds is there. So it's a very fun
Yes. Oh
cast.
my gosh. Exactly.
So yeah, I would also recommend Free Guy for people. And I know if Ivan is still here, I'm not sure if he's already gone because he does have Evander's. He does have another channel where he talks about movie reviews as well. Those guys broke down Free Guy um pretty methodically as well. I approach movies kasi on my end more story driven. And the way I approach it is I do have an unpopular opinions regarding some movies. Say na enjoy mo yung ganito. Say you enjoyed Shang-Chi. I'm going to say to you that I didn't, but I'm going to tell you why I didn't.
Yeah.
Ganun ako. I'm not just going to say na I hate something and then hindi ko na i-follow up kung bakit, lalo pag sasabihin mo na, oh bakit, maganda naman yung graphics, maganda. No, we could talk. I'm going to tell you why that movie sucked on my end. Parang ganun ako eh.
Mhm.
Though that actually creates a lot of controversy because why am I not enjoying what most people are? Because I could see through the lens of what they can't see beyond. And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I think you know kung bakit ko nagawa yung listahan ng heroes ko. Because I'm more
Uh-huh.
story driven talaga rather
Yeah.
than just the visuals, just the sounds. No, we have to go through far deeper than that to understand life. But anyway, yeah. So any other recommendations as well?
Those are the only recommendations that popped to mind, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for giving those recommendations. Dying Light, people. I haven't played it, but I know the reviews on this game, and I know a lot of game streamers from the West playing it. It's a fairly linear game. It's not really far different than most, pero there's something about kung paano siya ginawa na kakaiba eh. Hindi ko pa rin ma-pinpoint eh kung ano yung kakaiba niya, pero it's really fun. And like Ivan said, medyo there's a difficulty issue here, pero if you could actually toggle it to a much easier setting. So, just enjoy it siguro. You got. And I know it's still for sale in Steam yata. Meron din yata sa Steam ngayon dun eh. So, go ahead and check it out. Free Guy, definitely also one of my recommendations as far as movie is concerned. Do check that one out. If you like another recommendation, that one, Ready Player One. As much as I load that movie nowadays, kasi ngayon na-analyze ko na siya, it's not really a very good movie, but it's comparable to Free Guy. It's more like fan servicing the movie when you look at it.
Okay,
Hindi mo pa napapanood yung Ready Player One? You
hindi
should
pa.
watch it kasi kung na-enjoy mo to, you will enjoy that one as well. There's
Okay, okay.
a lot of pop culture tropes doon. Nilagay nila lahat, you place anime stuff, gaming stuff there, Godzilla here, Batman being the main villain or something like that. Yung parang ganun. Nilagay nila doon yun. Pero um it's still very palatable, you know. So it doesn't take itself seriously. It knows what kind of movie it is talaga.
Mm,
So yeah.
I'll
Another
check it out.
recommendation, yeah, definitely. Another recommendation for me is if you're into critical thinking and you'd like to enjoy some yourself, like let's say some intellectual breakdowns of movies, I would recommend. Again, I already recommended this guy for a few times already. Um, I recommend Mahler from YouTube. He does a lot of essays, video essays from
Essays?
games. Yeah, video essays, breakdowns of games and movies. The last breakdown critique that he did was for Black Widow, and that was 4 hours long.
Wow.
That's why they call him the Long Man. Kasi meron pa siyang isang meron pa siyang isang page where he does this kind of content katulad ng ginagawa natin, pero more on panels sila. It's called Every Frame a Pause. If you look at the durations here, you have a 5 hour stream, an 11 hour
Crazy.
stream, but he does have some guests. So they will open up a movie and then they will dissect this movie the hell out of it. They will tell you what would be the high points of the movie and what they didn't really enjoy about it, what they like about it. Katulad nito, meron nga siyang Train to Busan last month, which is a very good movie pero nahanapan pa rin nila ng reason kung bakit hindi siya ganun kaganda. Though they have a lot of positive reviews on Train to Busan. Who wouldn't? If you haven't watched Train to Busan, you owe yourself to watch it because that's probably the best what do you call this? The best zombie-based movie for this decade. And again, one of my
Oh
recommendations
my
is
gosh.
my guest page. As always, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Because I also invited her for a session. You guys owe yourself to listen to Isa's content
Oh
in
my gosh,
either Facebook.
my page is exposed.
That's fine. I mean, you really need this because you need to have your page posted to people. But she does incredible work on comparing game tropes and also in real life. Also, congrats on this one. I just saw this again today.
Oh my
So you're
gosh.
you're number one Apple podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So there's no further explanation why you should listen because the number one trending for plus 42. So that's a big jump for people who are looking for something to listen to in every day. I know she just has 3 episodes right now or 4 as of the moment. I'm expecting a lot more great stuff from you. And Yep. Oh, okay. So there's my poster, which I have linked from Zelda. Buti na hindi na copyright. Link from Zelda on the hero's journey. So do visit her page on Facebook, and also where else? You also have an Apple Podcast. Am I right?
Yeah, so we're the podcast is on all major podcast platforms. Whatever your favorite podcast app is, we'll
Mhm.
most likely be there. And we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. That's just at Equipped Podcast PH. That's where I, break down some of the things that I mentioned in the episodes, which I
Mhm.
still enjoy doing. And so, yeah, I hope you guys can check it out if you have time.
Check
Oh,
it
and the
out.
next episode comes out
Yep.
on Sunday. So that's the
Nice.
fourth episode,
What is it
and
going
I'm
to be
really
all
excited
about?
about it.
What is it
Huh?
going to be all about?
The fourth
Maybe
episode?
yeah. Or would you like to have that one
I'll leave it as a
revealed?
secret.
Yeah. Okay. Again, if you're finding a reason why to listen, just stats won't lie. Yun na naman sabi ko. If you reach number one
Oh
Apple
gosh.
Podcast Philippines, yeah, that warrants you the sorry, that gives you the idea on why you should listen to her. And it's very informative, ladies and gents. So do support local podcasters, local content creators as like herself. Doesn't matter if you actually subscribe to me, subscribe to the people I haven't guessed. That's what's important. And yeah, so that would be it. What else do I have? So I think that's basically it for tonight. We already reached 2 hours and 30 minutes. Thank you so much for being here, then, Isa. I'm just going to plug
Thank you
in
for having
siguro
me.
since you're right. No, definitely we should do this again next time. Probably a movie breakdown if you're down for it. If you watch Ready Player One or something, which I think you should
Ooh,
watch.
okay.
There's
That would be
there's a
interesting.
lot of, yeah, I highly recommend it. And oh yeah, someone would like to send their message to the people here. My favorite girl would like to send her message. Gaming girl. I love my girlfriend, so yeah. She would like to send a message to you guys na medyo na parang nagwa-waver na sa nangyayari ngayon. I'd let her speak.
だから正しくちゃんと自分らしく生きなくちゃ。一瞬、この一瞬を大切に。
覚えておこう。
So never give up. Never give up, ladies and gentlemen. So yun na yun. And that completes episode 6 of Classified, and hope you guys be here next week because it's going to be a fairly exciting episode again, featuring one of my favorite bands, also my closest friends, Fusebox. We will be discussing their first album. And hope you guys enjoy this last song before we close. Have a great evening. Again, if you'd like to get vaccinated, my only advice is to consult your doctor first. And take care. In behalf of Visa, Jamir signing off for tonight. Take care and good night.
Bye, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Fans de la Musique 2019.
Yes, this is,
25th year.
yeah, this is historical because this is the very first progressive music stage of Fête de la Musique. So, I think this is really an occasion for celebration, and I'm glad to be a part of all of this.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Makes sense. All right.
Abby is representing the Pinoy progressive community.
Yeah, okay, we'd like to, of course, thank all the bands who said yes to perform for today's momentous event. Okay, pero syempre, hindi kami ang official MC today, hindi kami ang official hosts. We would like to introduce our official hosts for today, Mr. Slaw and JQT of PPC. Please come on down.
How about a big hand for these guys?
Yeah. Alright. Guys, we are on live broadcast, so something that's more special siguro sa lahat ng Fed stages, tayo lang. Live broadcast.
Wow.
So please invite your friends na makicelebrate sila dito sa atin. It's free, free admission. Okay, so pwede pumunta dito anytime hanggang maybe 12.
Yeah, no cover, no minimum.
No cover, no minimum.
If you're watching right now, come on over because
Okay.
this is an opportunity for you to
Thank you. Take
hear
it
and
away, guys.
witness a lot of good music. Okay.
Check. Let's give it up for Project Materia! Man, that was mind-blowing to say the least. Don't you think so, Jake?
Heck yeah. I mean, I'm not a stranger to these guys. I see these guys all the time. And the energy that they emit on stage just goes all over our heads. You know what I mean? It just goes inside, straight to your veins. And back then, you remind yourself of grade 6 when you were playing Final Fantasy 5, 6, 7.
You can just practically imagine.
That's the show, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys have a great evening. Take care and good night.